Liftoff will start in T-minus 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Alrighty, welcome in tonight, guys. I am Ray. Above me is Alex. To my right is Fred. And we have a special guest joining us tonight. He's commented various times in our videos. He is my old man. Aaron is joining in with us tonight to talk some baseball. How's everybody doing tonight?
Hey, we're doing good, guys. A little bit of technical difficulties, but we're here. And as I discussed with you guys briefly before we hopped on, other technical difficulties. My damn cigar cracked, and now the wrapper's off. God damn it.
Fred, I think you're muted, buddy. I know you're trying to throw something in there, and we couldn't hear you.
Awesome. Good to see everybody. I'm hanging out here in the bottom right corner tonight, and it's unfortunately, I feel your pain with the cigar there, bud.
It sucks. I like the cigar.
So what you're saying is,
welcome, Aaron. Good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome in. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're interested to hear a couple of your takes you have on some baseball. I know you always chime in whenever we talk about that, so we're interested to hear what you want to bring in tonight. So, actually, we'll just dive right into it here. I know you're a big Pirates fan, so I want to ask you right off the bat, how do you feel about the Pirates this year, let alone the whole NL Central right now, with every team being above 500 and how close the competition it is with everybody?
Well, you don't know. Pirates are playing good, and I can honestly say I've talked to a few guys that have played in the minors, a couple guys that I had to hang out with, a couple guys played for the Senators, one played for the Braves minor league team, and they say the one thing in the Pirates locker room this year is that they've heard of and they've seen is the team believes. They believe they can do something. Now, believing and then doing something is completely different.
Yeah.
So, yes, they have some talent. Yes, they have some good things. Yes, they have some good players. One player that gets overlooked a lot, and Brandon Lowe. My God.
Yeah.
He is tearing it up. He is one of the better Pirates on the team. And Nick Gonzalez, he's doing good too. I mean, the Pirates are starting to gel. Whether or not they continue, that's to be seen. That Central Division, I mean, in the National League, there's 8 teams over 500, just 8.
Yep.
The American League, 3 teams over 500.
Right.
Unless somebody else won today, there was only 2 when we started at the beginning of the day.
3
as of today, okay.
And possibly 4 once the A's win.
If the A's win. But I think they were up, 10-1 the last I checked over the Phillies, So
I mean, I got to say, the one thing that I've noticed is the Pirates pitching staff is stacked. And as far as if everyone can stay healthy, they have the opportunity to do some amazing things from a pitching standpoint. And as long as they can keep their opponents down in runs, then they have the potential. What's often happened is they end up not producing and not producing effectively. So, you might see some hits, you might see, a little production in maybe 1 or 2 innings, but that's about it. So being able to put it together and take all the pieces they do have, I know their depth chart is awesome. Their bullpen, even in the minor leagues, for guys they can pull up. I've been watching Seth Hernandez, and that kid is amazing. They definitely have the pieces, and like you said, if they can actually come in and play and keep everyone that they have right now, then yeah, they definitely have potential this year.
Another thing about the Pirates, like you said about their pitching, the one thing that we always say I'm batting. We always say I'm batting. On base percentage. We want on base percentage. Well, pitching ERA is critical, yes, but the biggest thing you have to look at is the walks, the strikeout ratio.
Yep.
You look at Paul. He's a 1.5. All right. That's pretty good. All right. Ashcraft, 3. Keller, 2.6. The one that really worries me is Chandler. He's at a 6.9. All right. That's pretty high. And that's the scary part, because when you start walking people, that could cause problems. That makes the defense have to get out of position. If you're covering first base and you have someone that's right-handed that can slice the ball in between where a first baseman normally plays and where the second baseman's at, you just gave up a base hit. You have guys stealing, it puts you out of position, and you keep the guys off base. Don't walk them. That's the main thing. Yeah, you're going to give up a hit.
Another thing I've noticed is the relievers as well. They carry much more weight in the game as a whole in the major leagues than what they ever used to. And because of that, the depth of your relievers and that same number, how many times are people being allowed to be on base, whether it's by a walk, whether it's, actually getting hits. But if they get on base, and it doesn't matter if it's in the first inning or the ninth inning, if the pitchers aren't capable of setting the guys down, then you're always going to give up runs, and you never know if that next at bat, that next guy on first base is going to be your losing run.
But who's on first?
Well, that's the age-old question. I mean, to Aaron's point, if you're giving up a lot of walks, I've always looked at walks as you're a free base.
Yep.
If you're giving up, 1.5, 2, that's that's good, but that's typical baseball. But if you're giving up 6, that's concerning. If you think about it, one guy that's a free base, okay, whatever, fine. But then you give up 2, now you got a guy on second base who's in scoring position. Now defensively, you have to think, okay, where's the ball going to go? Where am I going to go? You're thinking too much. And as all of us know here, baseball's not as much of a physical game. Yes, it is physical, but it's much more of a thinking game. If you're thinking too much, that's when you make mistakes. So giving up those extra bases and getting, one guy on base, fine, whatever. But giving up 2 or more guys on base free, it gives stress to the defense. It makes guys think.
Now,
I agree with that.
Mispronounce this name, but a guy for the Indy team, the Pirates AAA club. It's Joe Lasorsa, if I pronounce it right. He's only thrown 16 innings this year. Okay, he's had 15 strikeouts and only walked 3 batters.
Right.
1.69 ERA. That's coming up for Pittsburgh.
Right.
That's pretty darn good. Then you have on the single away portion. This is where I'm looking at 2 distinctive ball players here. A Wyatt Sanford. All right, he's at 105 at bats, a 305 batting average. He's just 968 on base percentage.
Right.
Now, you know what? Yeah, it's single A. Yeah, it's this and that. It's still down pretty low. But if he can continue and move up, I mean, that's going to be like, let's face it. Connor, he didn't spend a lot of time down there. If they bring him up, who's to say he isn't going to be something to help out with that club with that point? I mean, yeah, the Pirates have seemed to be the farm team for everyone in the major league for years. They always have this one thing. They can get the rookies in there. And the best part about this right now, the Pirates are limited to at least 5 years.
Right.
Because rookie contracts and the way the rookies work, it's a 5-year thing.
Yep.
They're in there. They're going to stay there for 5 years. They're with the Pirates at a minor league contract. Once that 5 years, 6 years is there, they go with the free agency, and now the Pirates have to find a way to sign them.
Right.
I don't think the Pirates are going to do that. And so, yeah, they're okay right now. But are they going to keep all these guys? Are they going to want to try to keep all these guys? So if the Pirates are going to do it, they got to do it now, because in 4 years, 5 years, I don't think they're going to sign anybody and trade them off and go find some more rookies, young guys, make them good, have a good team for a while, and then get rid of them again.
Well, that's what we were talking about a while ago, too. If you remember last offseason, Fred, is what are the Pirates going to do? Where's Skeens going to go? He ain't going to stay in Pittsburgh. But look at that team now, and look what we might be looking at here come September.
Well, the other thing that I've always said, too, is you can tell how serious a team is. And, I know we're going to touch on it in a little bit, but we're seeing it in the offseason and in football, is you can tell how serious a team is when they start to work trades in to build up a little bit of depth. I know the Pirates are going to have to bring in a consistent hitter or two, and they might take some of that depth they have in their farm system to trade for a couple pitchers to bring in somebody that'll fill in a gap wherever that is as the season progresses. But I think that's going to be the telltale sign of whether or not they're actually serious about making this season a season where they rank higher than mid.
Now, I'm gonna cut back on what you say there, and this doesn't just go with the Pirates. This goes with every Major League Baseball team out there. They have their free agency thing. They try to pull players in. They try to do this. They try to find that one weak link and replace it to make them better. My thing on that is, if you have a group of players gelling, you don't want to screw it up. As soon as you bring in one person and the rest of the team sees that, okay, well, this guy right here, yeah, he wasn't doing all this at the time, but he was a motivator. He helped us out. He kept us going. Now he's not here, and we have someone else who's a tightwad. Yeah, he can play ball, but all of a sudden you make a mistake and he's jumping down everybody's throat, or he has a conflict with certain players. You don't know that. If you have a team that's gelling, you're not sure if they're going to get the whole distance or not, but they might, because they're gelling. You don't screw it up. It's like, why do you want to reinvent the wheel? If it's there,
I get that. The only pushback I have with that is when there's clearly a player that's underperforming and it's bringing that gel or bringing stress to everyone. Everybody wants to be on a winning team. Everyone wants to be able to see that pennant. Everyone wants to be able to get that ring. And if there's a guy that's just not producing, yes, you can encourage a guy through a slump, if they're putting up the numbers. But at the same time, I watched it with the Yankees last year, where bringing in Bednar as a closer was a great move in the right direction for the pitching staff. Making some changes where Rice got a little bit more playing time. And honestly, the replacement of Soto with Rice made a huge difference in where we're at right now as a team. And I think there's far more gelling going on with Ben Rice than we had with Soto. So I think it could go either way there. But yes, I think the gelling is important. But even with the gelling, if there's that weak link that you can plug and play and still keep that continuity, I think that shows how serious the team actually is of getting a pennant or making a paycheck.
I think, too, though, to Aaron's point, yes, you want to have guys, if they're gelling, let them be. But that also, like Fred said, I think Fred brings up a valid point. And as you guys were talking, it made me think, it also falls then on your league scouts. Yes, you have your guys that are scouting prospects, throughout the minors and, guys coming into the pipeline. you also have scouts that are actually scouting other MLB teams. So you have to trust those scouts that, yes, can we find a guy that can help a weakness if we have one, but also what is his personality type? How does he interact with his team now? How does he interact with the staff in the building? How does he interact with his agent? So yes, while a guy may be out there that you could trade for or sign in free agency that could help you, is he actually a culture fit? So yes, from a talent standpoint, can somebody help you? That is something to keep in mind. But at the same time, you also have to trust your internal scouts to say, hey, is this a guy that's actually worth signing, or is this a guy that's going to add not just on the stat sheet, but in the locker room, in the clubhouse, what have you?
Now, Aaron, I did have a question for you. Have you heard any buzz or kind of have your finger on the pulse about the front office and how they're approaching this season compared to previous seasons?
I haven't heard too much, but the little vibes that I have heard, they're approaching it the exact same way they did last year. Rookies. You're not going for the big paycheck. You're not going for the big guys. You get the rookie contract. You get the guys that don't make the $1 million a year that perform. You go on that. Prime example with that, go back into the 90s and that with Barry Bonds and that team. Great team. But guess what? Once their 6 years were done, they
Bye-bye.
What happened? They left.
Now, see, I get that thinking, but that thinking was there last year and they flopped. That thinking was there previous years. They've never been a team that's willing to throw down big money for a player. They really haven't. So
That's the
if
Pittsburgh
ownership
way.
is never willing to do that and they have the same results, you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And that's essentially where the Pirates fans have been for a long time. And I honestly think that ownership there talks a big game, but really what it comes down to is they know that in that 5-year window, yes, they can develop players. Yes, their scouting is some of the best in baseball. Their farm system is by far one of the best in baseball. But when it comes down to it, they're going to make a profit on the back end when it's that 5th year and they're selling off a player, rather than making it on the front end by winning pennants and getting butts in the seats that are, you know, that they have to pay for. I'll put it that way.
I kind of call it the reverse Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones in the NFL, he spends a lot of money. He gets these big name guys, but like the Pirates, he's not seeing results. So with the Pirates, yes, they're not spending big money, but they're kind of doing the not Jerry Jones and getting the same darn results.
I think his bread and butter back in the day, though, was get every bad boy that you can come up with, every scrapper, every person that's 3 minutes from a jail sentence, put them on a field together, and then, you know, watch the longest yard happen. And honestly,
yeah.
it was successful, and he coached those guys the best. He always said, I can take any ruffian that can put on a football uniform and make him a player. So I think what he's doing now, and it might be his old age, it might be the fact that he's, you know, his edge is gone, but having guys that are, you know, that don't make the headlines every week and aren't fighting lawsuits every 5 minutes, they're not producing on the field. So maybe he had something going back then.
Well, so what you're saying is Stephon Diggs is about to sign with the Dallas Cowboys this year.
Yes.
I mean, let's be real for a minute.
He wasn't. He all charges were dropped. All charges were dropped. He's innocent.
Okay.
Supposedly. Just saying.
Until proven guilty. God bless America.
Listen. OJ was given an innocent sentence, so I mean.
Okay.
Look, I mean,
here's where it gets deep, because it's not necessarily that they're guilty as charged. It might be that there's a civil lawsuit in the background, or 2 or 3, or more allegations from women, or whatever it is. The Me Too and You Too and Everyone Too movement, that it could be those allegations come out, and then he's a perfect fit.
Look. All I'm saying, and Aaron knows this as well as the other 3 of us do. The '90s Cowboys were one felony away from being Alcatraz. I mean, let's just be honest. They were just one felony away from being a Dallas-based Alcatraz. Okay,
and it made it exciting, though. You know what I mean? It wasn't. You weren't looking at the team saying, I wonder who's going to get injured this week. You were looking at the team. oh, please, let them make bail.
Now, but is that really more the Dallas Cowboys, or was that the Miami Hurricanes of the 90s?
They're both the same.
Yeah.
They're both the same. Okay.
Look who coached the Hurricanes, then went to Dallas.
I mean, fair enough. Fair enough. You have me on that one.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
It tracks.
Yeah.
Right? When you got the COs moving from one prison to another, they're still going to be able to work with the same inmates. You know what I mean?
But back to baseball. Yes, the Pirates, they may be onto something, but as we all know, the season is still young. A lot can change between now and September and October, whenever we're getting into the playoffs. So, I mean, any Pittsburgh Pirates fan, Aaron knows better than all of us. The Pirates can be looking great right now, and then come next month, 2 months from now, like, that's kind of the Pittsburgh way.
As I said last year, I made the prediction last year when they were 15 games below 500 at All-Star break. I said the Pirates will be a 500 ball club at the end of the year, and they did, and that's when they started.
And gosh darn it!
Now that's the same team as you said, Fred, and they all of a sudden got 500 by the end of the year. They started proving themselves. Now that team's together by the All-Star break. If they are above 500, they may not win the division.
Frozen take, here we come.
Frozen take, here it is.
If they don't, or if they are over 500 by the All-Star break, they may not win the division, but they'll make the playoffs.
Ooh.
I like that.
I could see that. I could see that for sure, because their capability of dominating from the mound is absolutely going to be the pivotal point for them this year. If they can maintain their control from the mound and limit runners, limit hits, then really, I think their potential of winning a lot more games that are close games are going to be their bread and butter this year.
The only problem they have is the conference they're in.
Well, the division they're in, let's be honest, the way it's going this year, the division we're in. So, but that brings me up when I say the division we're in, because there's another thing that I wanted to kind of talk about today, and I would love to hear your input before Fred and I kind of get at each other about this. We have a big weekend, Fred and I, coming up, where the Milwaukee Brewers will be hosting the New York Yankees Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So, what's your prediction for this weekend, and who do you have taking the series this weekend?
Well, first of all, are they playing night games or day games?
Pretty sure the first 2 are night games, and the third one's an afternoon game. I will check and confirm for you, but I'm pretty sure that's how the rotation's been going.
If it's going to be a night game, the Yankees are winning.
Friday night, they play at 7:40. Saturday, they play at 7:10. Sunday, they play at 2:10.
Okay, Friday, the Yankees will win. Saturday, the Yankees will win. Sunday, they will lose.
So you're saying a Yankees series win?
The Yankees series, the Yankees dominate at nighttime. There's 17 wins and 5 losses at night.
Well, they're going to lose 3 more this weekend, so I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, okay, okay. So
the Brewers are 8 wins and 11 losses at night.
Yeah, but that's just made up numbers. We don't even have those.
So
Fake news.
let's keep a couple things in mind about this matchup. Okay, the one thing that you unfortunately have to face this weekend is the fact that you have a new injury, right?
Well, Brandon Woodruff's out, but he wasn't scheduled to pitch this weekend anyway, so it wouldn't have made a difference for our rotation.
Yeah, but Zerpa is also going to be out.
Well, he was starting to become one of our closers, but he wasn't our closer. Uribe's been getting a lot of our closes.
Yeah,
well.
but let's be real. For a hitting team, your pitching is going to make or break whether or not we dominate your team. So,
and you got to realize too, we just got Jackson Chourio back. We just got Aaron Vaughn back, where Chourio, his first game back, went 4 for 4 and got walked in his 5th at bat. Vaughn in the second game hit a 3-run home run, which propelled us to a 4-0 lead against the Cardinals yesterday. We got our hitters back, our big hitters, let alone our power hitters.
okay.
We're getting a rotation going at the bat, and you're getting Mizorowski this weekend on top of our 2 young guns who are throwing under a 3 ERA right now. So you're getting a lot of our younger, hotter pitchers coming into this weekend, and if we can just have our bullpen hold it together for a little bit, I think we'll be all right.
So, like a typical Wisconsin sports fan, you're holding on to an if.
Listen, you don't need to
let
bring
me back
Wisconsin
up a minute.
into this.
Let me back up a minute. Okay. You said
Not wrong.
You said you have
Holding on to an if.
You have pitchers that are under 3, right? Which
I believe so. The last I checked, I could be wrong if you want to fact check me, but
I'll tip my hat to that. But
yeah,
what you're facing is 2 of the hottest hitters in baseball right now.
Between Judge and Rice, right?
Judge and Rice. You have...
Yeah, but we talked about that the other day. Judge might be hitting home runs, but he's not leading your team in home runs. He's leading your teams in at-bats, strikeouts, and everything else.
Back up. He is now leading the MLB in home runs. He's got 14 now.
I thought the White Sox guy. I can't remember his name. But he's a Japanese player. Did he get jumped?
He hit 13 last night, and
okay.
Then Judge just hit 14. He bumped up yet again on the home run, all-time home run records. He's now 68th, I think.
Okay.
And then Rice is hot as could be. They're both of them are, I believe the on-base percentages are both over 1,000. So
okay.
Even on a bad night for Judge right now, he's still getting 2 hits the game.
Okay.
Even on a bad night for Rice,
yeah,
he's still getting on base twice. So even if you look at the rest of the Yankees batting order, there aren't many holes to not hit those runs around. There really isn't. So as long as our guys are getting on base, now yes, the Brewers have been playing small ball.
I was about to say, you could say the same thing about Milwaukee. They're bringing back the bunting game. They're bringing back getting on base, taking advantage of the runners on base.
I wanted to bring that up too. You guys are, this season is now the second highest season since 2021 of bunts, and bunts for hits as well as bunts as sacrifices. The old trope from, well, one of my favorite movies, Moneyball, is we don't bunt. You don't bunt. The averages don't factor in to make it worth bunting. Now, because of it's becoming a pitcher's game again with all these very dominant pitchers and the movement improving, the ERAs dropping, and you're getting a large number of people in the MLB now that are bouncing around that 2 ERA. So teams have to make some changes, especially teams that are not home run hitters, power hitters, and aren't really a dominant team from that aspect, but they're what I consider a rally team. So
And
you start getting those base hits in, and you rally around each other, and you get 2 or 3 more base hits, and now you got a number on the board.
And what I want to bring up as well with that is the Brewers, another stat that I want to throw at you is they lead the league in 2-out runs. If we get 2 outs on the board, that's when all of our runs finally start coming in. It's like, okay, time to clutch it up, time to crack the whip a little bit. And the Brewers are knocking in these like hits and getting
2-out runs are now faced with a pitching staff that is, when there's 2 outs, they're more likely to strike you out. So you got Schlittler, who's been doing amazing right now. You have
Hey, I will be right back. I gotta tuck my daughter in. She's been texting me saying, "When are you coming back?" So I will be right back. You guys discuss that a little bit more. I'll be right back.
So, Aaron, I got a question for you. What's your take on the increase in bunting and the small ball play that the Brewers are doing this season? Is it because it's a management move, or is it simply that they're leaning into that because of a lack of dominant long ball hitters?
Well, I actually believe they're starting to go back in time a little bit. I'm going to give you just to picture this, a little stat. As of right now this year, there are 25 Major League Baseball players batting over 300. Just 25. Yep. There are 31 Major League pitchers pitching under 3.
Yep.
Now, when I say go back in time and look at this goes in with the bunting. In 1995, by the end of the season, there were 44 players batting over 300.
Yeah.
And only 5 pitchers under 3.
Yep.
So, small ball is coming back to get the guys on the base, to make the defense get out of position, and to make the fielders throw. Plus, if you look at the fielders today, the guys fielding the balls aren't as good as the guys were before.
Oh,
now I'm going to say this.
I agree with that 100%.
This is my take on this. Managers today are looking at the guys who perform. Now, I'm going to throw this out to a money ball thing. All right, I'm putting this guy on first base because he gets on base, but he doesn't play first base. Well, guess what? He's there because he can't throw, but he can catch a ball. But he's there, but you will know he'll produce. You look at the Yankees. They come in here, they get Alex Rodriguez. Well, what do? Well, they put him at third. Where did he play? He was playing short. Why didn't they move him to short? Because who was there?
Jeter.
Jeter was there, right. So he's out of position. He's going to make some more errors. Go to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Who's the center fielder of the Pirates?
Is that Ortiz right now? Not Ortiz. Is it Ortiz?
Yeah. Well, no, that's Cruz.
Oh, Cruz, not Ortiz. My bad.
Yeah, Cruz is in the center. Who's been making some of the major mess ups out there in the field because he's out of position? Where did he start? He was in the infield. Now they have him in the outfield. Why is he put out there? Because they got a guy who can play better, but he's producing at the plate. You got to get him in the lineup. So the fielders today are not as good as they were back then.
I never realized that. I didn't know that about the Pirates. That's actually something I never knew. So
if you look at the entire major
league, more you know.
It's just the major league system today. If you get guys in position where they were brought up to play, they'll play good. They'll play good defense. Yes, you'll get on base. Yeah, there was higher batting averages in 95, but they practiced those positions, and they had multiple positions. They practiced that to get it to work right. Today, hey, I'm just a first baseman. Well, we need you at third. Oh, boy, I don't know if I can do that. Well, we need you in the outfield. All right. We don't need 2 DHs. We need you somewhere here. We need someone there. They're out of position. That's why you see the bunts coming in. You got to
see, that's one thing. That's one thing. If you guys remember talking to me talking last year and this season about the Brewers, we have so many players where it's like he'll be here one week and he'll be here the next week, or he'll be here the next day. He'll be here the next day. Like we shuffle our players around so much that it seems just like it's nice to know that we can plug and play where we need people to kind of get them, like you said, in the lineup so we can play the best players we can in Milwaukee. It seems like Pat Murphy's the old school manager that they needed to kind of get them where they're at, because he's won back-to-back coach of the year, or what is it, NL coach of the year in his 2 years there. This is his third year, and they're still doing what nobody predicts Milwaukee to do, and that's continue winning when they shouldn't be. So,
and I got to take a call here, but I'm going to put this out before I get off here a second.
Yeah.
My old thing that I always said when I coached, if you can't get 3 outs, you're never going to bat.
Absolutely.
So get those guys in position where they should be.
Right.
That's why I'm seeing bunts nowadays.
Yeah.
But I'll be right back on here in a minute.
All right. Okay. Awesome.
All right.
So a quick transition here real quick.
Hang on. I got one more thing to say about Pat Murphy. Just real quick. Let me pull it up here quick.
Okay. Is it the pocket pancakes? Because I remember them from last year and I love the pocket pancakes.
Hang on. One little second here.
One.
Ah, yeah. Okay, so let me pull it up real quick. There we go.
Oh, yes. I love this. I love this little bit that he did in the interview.
Quote, I love banana cream pie with vanilla wafers or banana pudding in pie-shaped form. If you know anyone that makes them.
Yes,
I love
100%. Yes.
Every bit of that. That's a quote that, should be in MLB history, obviously.
Well, this is the same guy, too, that literally, he was in a post-game interview talking to a reporter about the game. He pulls a pancake out of his coat pocket and just starts eating it on camera. And they're just like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what?
That's the... I love guys that are just in that stage. And especially, I saw a older lady the other day at the store, and completely oblivious to everyone around her. She walks right in front of a group of people, right up to the register, and starts putting her stuff on there. And there's a line. But you got those people who just do not care about the world around them, and they're going to be them no matter what. And my hat's off to them.
Right. Oh, man. So, Aaron, is there anything you want to touch else, or anything else you want to touch on before we kind of transition into something else here real quick? Is there anything you want to bring up before we let you go here? Because I know you got to be up super early in the morning to do your thing.
Yeah, I'm good right now. I can stick around for a little more and chat with me, but I mean, I'm
all right.
As I said, I just know that baseball is baseball, and I don't agree with some of the changes that have made, but there are a few teams that are surprising me. There are a few teams that are disappointing me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah. And right before we kind of disengage from the Brewers Yankees here, Fred, if you want to get this brought up and get it ready to go. Breaking news earlier this week, legendary radio broadcaster for the New York Yankees, John Sterling, passed away on Monday, age 87. He had heart failure in New Jersey, and he finally just the heart failure just obviously did its thing. So Fred had looked up a little bit of a tribute we were going to play on the podcast for him tonight. And then after we got into that, we'd go into a little bit more of some other stuff we touched on. And I know, Alex, I don't know if you want to talk about your Spurs a little bit with how they've been in basketball right now, or...
Sure, we can touch on that. Maybe a little bit of football news, whatever you want to talk about.
So,
all right.
Whenever you're ready, Fred.
Yeah, here we go. Pull that up here and
He is part of the fabric of baseball in the biggest city in this country.
For many generations, there will only be one, the voice of the New York Yankees.
The Golden Pipes, John Sterling.
Stepping up to the microphone is the voice of the New York Yankees. Here is John Sterling.
Well, Susan, thank you. And once again, good afternoon, everyone.
Swung on it, hit in the air to deep right center. It is high, it is far, it is gone. Burn, baby, burn. A thriller by Godzilla. The Bambino, the Giambino, Robbie Cano, and don't you know? Oh, he's positively swishalicious. Hell, Capitan. Let the Cardi party begin. It's an A-bomb from A-Rod. The most happy fella, a Stantonian home run. Swung on, there goes, deep left, it is high, it is far, it is gone. Number 62, Guy Creed, he's done it. That's 602 career saves. Swung on, he's gonna get it, he makes the catch, a perfect game, 27 up, 27 down. Baseball immortality. Base hit, right field. Richardson scores on a base hit by Derek Jeter. Is that unbelievable? Or is that unbelievable? So Derek Jeter, in his final game, you can't make this stuff up.
That's baseball, Susan.
Swung on and Luke to shallow center field. It is a base hit. Posada goes to second in one of the greatest comebacks you'll ever see. Didi Gregorius makes Yankee fans euphorious. The Grandy Man can, no, the Grandy Man can. Solade. Whoa, whoa, the sun will come out. Tanaka. Line base hit, left field. How do you like that? Oh, is he good? Oh, do we love Soto. You're on the mark, Teixeira. And Teixeira and Damon go back to back. In a belly to belly. Swung on and hit in the air. The deep left. That ball's high. It is far. It is gone. I don't believe it. The most unbelievable feat in World Series history. Swung on and popped up again. Off third. Hayes has room. Hayes makes the catch. Ball game over. World Series over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
And rest in peace to him. A couple highlights about him. He called 5,420 regular season games for the Yankees, 211 postseason games, and he is famous for his consecutive streak of 5,060 games from 1989 all the way to 2019 without missing a single Yankees game. So,
yeah, that's awesome. And the thing I find nostalgic about baseball is not just, my time being able to play or being able to watch my team throughout my life, but to be able to have those memories of announcers. And I'm sure you guys have your fair share from, various sports.
Look what happened with Milwaukee last year with Bob Uecker. A lot of the season last year, they were doing it for Uecker. So
I came across a guy that Yankees fans will know. Anyone who's spent time at Yankee Stadium would know. But I'm grateful that I got to meet him. I didn't know who he was at the time or why, but he was a staple at Yankee Stadium for literally decades. And I'll pull up a picture of him. This is Cousin Brewski. He spent his entire career selling beer in the stands in New York and at Yankee Stadium. And to be able to hear the people around you that all have been to games before, have met, have friends that sit around them with season tickets, whatever. But to hear the fans go crazy when Cousin Brewski comes down the aisle and it serves you a beer. It's one of those nostalgic things. It's got nothing to do with the game, but it's just that guy that everyone knows, and he's just as much of a staple as, and somewhat more so than the guys that come and go and, you know, might spend 5 or 6 seasons or whatever on the field. But those unsung heroes who are, you know, giving you a beer or announcing the game while you're sitting at home, you know, they're just as much, if not more, a part of the sport than those who come and go on the field.
For sure. I mean, I'm sure all of us can think of guys or voices of the various sports that we watch. I know whenever I was watching that, and Fred, while you were talking, for me, as an Eagles and a Penguins fan, I'm thinking about the two guys that I listened to. Mike Lang, who was the commentator for the Pittsburgh Penguins, who passed away. He was the voice of the Pittsburgh Penguins for decades. Whenever you talk to Pittsburgh Penguins to Penguins fans, Mike, other than Mario Lemieux and Yager, Sid, Malkin, Letang, yes, you remember the players, but you remember Mike Lang. You remember the phrases, rode him like a rented mule, or slap me silly and call me Sally. Or Elvis has just left the building. The passing of Mike Lang really, yes, the sport will go on. The Penguins as an organization will continue on, but Mike Lang was just a part of the fabric of that sport in that city, as much as the players were. And then from the football side, as an Eagles fan, he's thankfully still with us, but he's getting up there. Mike Reese from WIP. He's the voice of the Philadelphia Eagles on WIP. I mean, all of us can, even if you don't like the Eagles, which Ray, I know you don't stand them. But hearing those iconic calls from Mike Reese, from the Miracle of the Meadowlands back in the day to Miracle of the Meadowlands 2 with Deshaun Jackson and that call, him calling Super Bowl 52 and 59, and a myriad of games in between. Just as much as the Eagles are a staple in the city of Philadelphia and that organization is, Mike Reese is as much a part of that organization and as much as the identity of the Philadelphia Eagles as the actual organization is.
My hat's off to New York, period.
Absolutely. They lost a great one.
It's not just the players. It's not just the fans. It's the city. It's how they perform, how they do it. I've never been a Yankees fan. I never will be a Yankees fan. I'm sorry. But
we would take you. We would welcome you in if you want.
This is not a conversion show.
Keep that in mind.
But the New York Yankees have got respect from me. They're one of the few teams out there as an organization. They don't put names on the jerseys. It's about the team. It's about the organization, just like their announcers. Yeah, they do the announcing. They love the game. They love the team. It's about that city. Hats off. Condolences. New York.
Absolutely.
So another thing we can touch on and transition to, which Aaron, you touched on this a little bit here at the start of the show tonight, is the absolute wild fact that going into tonight now, like you had corrected me here, only 3 teams in the AL are above 500. And that is 2 of them are in the same division, the New York Yankees and the Tampa Bay Rays, which the Tampa Bay Rays are having an outstanding year. They're 9-1 in their last 10, 6-game winning streak. Where they came from, I have no idea. They're having a great year, though. And then the Cleveland, I want to call them the Indians, but,
they still are.
The Guardians. They just won tonight, putting them over 500 at 20-19. But let's look at, like you touched on, the NL. The NL East is the Braves and everybody else in that division. The Braves have an 8-game lead over the Washington Nationals, and then everybody else is 9 to 11 games back. You have the NL West, where you have the Dodgers and Padres duking it out, which go Padres, but I'm holding my breath. And then you have the what in the hell is happening NL Central where everybody is above 500? Everybody's 2 games above 500 at least, and the last place team on a 7-game losing streak is still 20-18. Like, what is going on in the NL this year? What's in the water that they're drinking, and what is happening with the AL guys?
Baseball.
Baseball.
Early in the year.
Baseball.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
Just early in the year.
At this point of the season,
Score more runs than you allow.
There's only a few teams that have their roster locked.
Now,
there's only a few teams that really are doing business as usual because we have who we want and we're just going to produce. The Phillies are absolutely in a spot where they need to figure their stuff out. The Mets, they're in a spot where they need to figure their stuff out. They have a payroll.
Payroll, yeah.
They have names, but are those names showing up every day? I don't know, because the numbers sure aren't showing it. The Phillies are in the same spot. And yes, I know it's any given Sunday, I know, whatever, but the averages start to come out where when you're that far behind in the first quarter of the season and you still don't have your team in any kind of cohesive movement yet, you're going to be struggling come the All-Star break.
Yeah.
I think where we're at right now in the AL, I think the AL just may very well be a weak AL this year. I know there was some player shifts. I know some of the trades that happened last year, there were guys that didn't get implemented that now they're going to be. And there's been a lot of rookies in the NL that have risen to the top, and a lot of names that are just, they're hitting the ground running and producing all across the MLB. So it's exciting.
Now, in that same breath, though, like you said, early in the year, everybody's getting the roster set up. That's all fine and dandy. But the NL Central has done something that we talked about a little bit of our last episode, but is now officially etched in history as the first time ever every team has entered May above 500. It has happened multiple different times where the couple teams were at 500 that entered, but not everybody was above. This is the first time ever in MLB history that every single team in a division has gone into May above 500. So is that just something where we're going to have the Cubs, the Cardinals, Pirates, Brewers, and Reds all just duking it out all year, and then there's going to be a couple teams that just get the short end of the stick? Or which team do we think is going to fall off the map, and which teams are taking the run on it?
The other thing that Aaron alluded to earlier is how many of those in that division is actual interleague play, or how much of that is divisional play? Because that plays a huge factor. How many of those games actually count?
I will look up that number for you and get you an answer here.
The other thing that we have to keep in mind is it doesn't matter. You can have an entire division over 800. Only one of those teams is moving on. So
you have the wild card now. There's more than one team that moves on.
So maybe two teams are moving on from that division. But all four of those teams, you can have, they can all be over 800. But
I mean,
at best, only two of those teams are moving on.
Right.
And then whether it's 10 teams that are comparable or one team that's comparable in the AL, that's where you have it for the World Series.
The way the cookie crumbles.
You wanted interleague records. So here's what we're looking at for the NL Central right now. You have the Cubs against AL teams are 5-4. You have the Milwaukee Brewers against AL teams are 11-7. You have the Pirates 6-3. You have the Reds 13-5, and you have the Cardinals at 9-9. That's your interleague records for those teams right now.
Early in the year.
Yep.
Too early to count.
Which right there, three of those teams are 500.
Yeah.
We're just barely over 500. So yeah, it's consistent in league and interleague play. But like Aaron just said, it's very early. You're gonna have players move around, you're gonna have people move up, move down, you're gonna have injuries and all that.
But this is Frozen Takes, guys. We take our bold predictions and we throw them out there for everybody to make.
And we also
if we had to do something here, and we had to pick, let's just say 2 or 3 teams that are going to lead the division at the end of the year. Granted, it's still early. I get that. We're not going to hold you to it and strap you to a chair.
I think we need to keep our eyes on the Rockies. The Rockies, because
they're not in that division.
But okay, I know they're not in that division, but we need to keep our eyes on the Rockies this year because they're
still 15-23 though.
Listen, they were the absolute bottom of the barrel last year. Okay, so if they're at over 30%, they're doing better than they were last season.
Oh man,
they're climbing up. They're climbing up.
I mean, they're 395. So
you want a Frozen Take here?
The
Rockies are going to be over 500 this season.
Oh, okay. Come on.
The Rockies are going to be over 500 this season. Yep. Aaron's with me on that.
Come on, guys.
You don't have a team. You don't have a team that is rock bottom in the MLB multiple years without making changes that get them at least to 500. Look at the Pirates. Look at the Pirates. You make changes to get you to that 500 mark. Then what that does is it makes you viable. It makes your players still marketable. It makes you even in a crappy division, it makes you still have enough pull that the next season your picks can do something.
Yeah, but they're not in a crappy division. They have the Dodgers who pay for all their players, and you have the Padres who are winning games and have the best closer in baseball right now.
So
that's not a crap division.
Guess what? All it takes, you just because you have the best closer in baseball, you can earn 0 runs in the 9th inning of every game of the entire season against them. But as long as you rack up those points before he comes in, guess what? You're good.
I get that.
So
but
don't matter a lick.
That addresses the Padres, but that does not address the Dodgers, like I said.
Okay, and the way you just said, every division has the opportunity for a wild card. So it could be the Dodgers topping their division, and then the Rockies sneaking in as that wild card guy.
They're not.
So
they're not.
I'm not betting on them making the wild card. Okay. What I am saying though is I see them being over 500 after having a horrible rock bottom season last year.
All right. So who do you have as your early favorite to win the Central then? I'll just leave it at that. Who do you have as your early favorite for the Central? It's too early to say this and that. Who's your early favorite in the Central then?
You want me to say the Brewers?
I want you to give me your opinion. This is Frozen Takes because he's gonna say the Pirates. So
okay, I'm gonna say this.
No, he's not even gonna say the Pirates. So
I do not think the Brewers are going to maintain.
Not with our pitching the way it is. You're absolutely right.
Hang on.
I was going to get to that, Fred. Don't jump the gun. I was going to get there.
I do not think the Brewers are going to maintain 2 seasons in a row where the small ball or the rallying remains consistent enough that they're going to be the top of the division 2 years in a row.
We've already done it 2 years in a row. This would be 3 years in a row if we pulled it off.
Then that makes it even less likely. Okay.
Thank you.
So the odds are against you there. for sure. The other
I'm
thing
betting
is
on Pat Murphy. I'm betting on Pat Murphy.
the other
Back to
thing
back
is
coach of the year.
your pitching staff is crumbling as we speak.
They're hurt.
Yeah.
They're hurt.
With like
But
Tommy
look what we've been
Johns or
Well, look what we've been doing with our farm system. They've been coming up with all these young players. Look at the Miz coming out of nowhere last year and lighting it up.
Okay, look.
Every farm, you know what they do? They play in dirt and shit.
Yeah.
So the Brewers right now,
Are digging through dirt and shit.
But how many times playing in that dirt do you actually get flowers come out of it in the MLB? Not very often. And so I think last year, hats off to you. You had a lot of wins. But what do the Brewers do better than just about any other team? Same thing as Green Bay does. Better than just about any other team.
Oh, we're going to bring us to a Wisconsin sports thing.
When they're on top of the world, a hand comes out of nowhere and chokes the life out of them.
Yeah.
So look, I'm not going to make a prediction as to who's going to be at the top of the division, but I will say this, and I'm going to kind of piggyback off of you, Fred. And Ray, you know this better than me, but I think you know about as well as I do. The Brewers have been playing with fire this year. Yes, they're above 500, sure. But in their losses, they have shit the bed. Eventually, it is, yes, necessarily.
Not necessarily.
And Fred, you will back me up. I know you will, because I can already see the gears turning.
Nah.
Last year and the year before, they burned through all their goodwill and they burned through all of their potential. This year, it is going to catch up with them. It is going to catch up with them.
If farm systems won baseball, okay? If farm systems won baseball, the Pirates would be top of the division every year for the last 15 years. Hands down. So you can't look at the farm system and say, well, we got this kid who's going to save us all. If the Brewers remain consistent with the things that they've always done,
if the Brewers do what the Brewers are,
right?
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
so are we chalking this up to it's a Wisconsin sports thing, or are we chalking it up to I root for them, so I've cursed the team? Because we have both of them.
You can't even pick a team.
What do you mean?
I gave you a viable option to not have the dichotomy of the Nationals and the Brew Crew.
Oh,
you could have worn your cat mom hat. You could have worn your cat mom hat, and at least that's not sports related, so you'd be supporting your team. So if you showed up, I gotta say, you'd be the guy to show up to the Nationals game, rooting for the Brewers, and forget you have the Nationals hat on.
Oh, this is what I'm going to get.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like, you'd be that guy.
I was just at their field this past weekend. I'm wearing it because I was just there.
But you're the guy. You're the guy that would buy the hat in the gift shop, wear the Brew Crew shirt, right, and forget which hat you're wearing. So now you got Brewers fans around you pissed off because you're wearing the Nationals hat. You got Nationals fans pissed off because you're wearing the Brewers shirt, and you're like, "Why is everyone upset with me?"
And meanwhile, the Wisconsin sports gods look down upon you and say, "Look, his hopes are so high, it's time to knock him down a few pegs."
Yeah, but my hopes aren't that high to begin with. They haven't been for a while with Wisconsin sports.
Right.
And even when they do start to get high, the hand of God is like, bam, and then it comes right back down. So the hopes are never sky high anymore.
As in typical Wisconsin fan, you're being delusional. It's okay. You'll come to reality soon.
Delusional.
That's just how you are.
So you asked me who I thought was going to be on top.
Just your early favorite for the Central. That's all I wanted to know.
I honestly think that what we're looking at right now of the Cardinals and the Pirates being 4 and 5 games back, I think that's going to change drastically over the next month. I think that the Pirates are going to sneak into at least second, if not be very much right behind the Cubs. And also, the Pirates actually are a high favorite for me this year.
All I'm gonna say is, if you look at the standings right now, the Cubs and Reds just finished a 4-game series to where 3 of those 4 games were walked off at the very last at bat. 2 outs in the 9th or 2 outs in the 10th. They walk it off and win it. So 3 of those 4 games you could easily give back to the Reds, and we're looking at a completely different set of standings. So it's not like this is like one team's way ahead of the other one or anything like that. And even another guy that I talked to at the school, he does a podcast himself, and he is a huge Pirates fan. He told me that when the Pirates played the Cubs, he was not impressed with the way the Cubs looked. He's not impressed with the Cubs. He's not impressed with the Cardinals. He said the teams that we need to watch out for are the Pirates, the Brewers, and the Reds. Those were his 3 teams to watch for going into the end of the season.
Okay. Let's be real for a minute. Let's be real for a minute. Even Cubs fans know not to be high on the Cubs. You know what I mean? So
like being a Boston fan.
Right. Exactly. So I think that right now the pitching staff for the Pirates is coming into their own once they work out the rotation with their relievers, that I think they're going to be even more solid than what they are right now. The other thing that is big right now is if their hitting continues to gel a little bit more, the Pirates definitely are a gel type of team. If they can get their hitting just as proficient as what their pitching is, I think they can be very dominant and, do themselves the service that they've deserved for a very long time. I know that there's a lot of people who, for the last few years, have been trying to get rid of ownership, trying to get them to sell the team, trying to do whatever they can to change the tides for the Pirates. But I think, like Aaron alluded to earlier, I think the pieces are there. And it's early in the season for that gel to be there completely. Now, thankfully, my Yankees, there haven't been a whole lot of roster changes that keep that gel from happening early on. So that gel kind of carried over from last season, and also the World Baseball Classic play, like all of that kind of led one into another without a whole lot of reason for there not to be gel.
Right.
So yeah, again, I would be curious to find out what Aaron's take is on this, but like I said, my frozen take is the Pirates in the next month being at least in second, if not bumping up to first.
Okay. All right, Aaron, what about you? What's your early look at the NL Central? Who do you think you have as the favorite?
Early look right now?
Yeah.
Well, Pirates aren't winning it. They could finish second. But the Cardinals scare me. I don't care. The Cardinals are a team that can come out of nowhere and just do something. They always have been. There's something about the Cardinals that, just like the Yankees, I just don't like. They always find a way to just come through and get it done. And it pisses me off because it always comes
Why do your job, dang it.
So the Cubbies, yeah, they're going to be there. I think as I say, All-Star break, I'll have a good feeling on it. But right now, I don't think the Pirates are going to win the division. I think they could finish high as second and make the playoffs. But the team to watch out for that I think could win it is the Cardinals.
All right.
Interesting. I mean, Alex, do you have a take on it? I know you're not following much into baseball. You're still getting into yourself, so.
Nope. The only thing I'm going to say is that the Brew Crew is just going to fall flat on their face.
Yeah, screw my Milwaukee Brewers like screw your Eagles and every other team you root for. Anyway, moving on. So we've talked a lot of baseball, and if you want to stick around, Aaron, you're more than welcome to. I know we're about to dive in some other stuff you're not too familiar with here.
I'll listen.
Oh, you'll listen? All right. So I'll let Alex take over here. I know you're a Spurs fan. We'll dive into a little bit of the NBA because we haven't talked about that too much at all recently. So go ahead and talk about your Spurs for a little bit. Talk about the NBA. What all do you have for us today that you want to bring into like the sports world from your favorite team's end?
So let's just touch on the NBA right now. Spurs took care of business in round one. For me, the Spurs have outside of Victor, outside of Wembanyama, they're really just a collection of guys. They don't really have a roster, to me anyway, that has their quote unquote big three. Kind of what we've seen since the early mid 2000s, working in the NBA, was kind of the philosophy of what I call the big three. You have your big three guys that you pay your top money to, that are on the hardwood 20 plus minutes per game, that are generating the most points, the most rebounds, whatever. And that's how you get yourself to a championship. The Spurs this year and through the last few years have seemed to kind of buck that trend. They've been building through the draft. They haven't gone out and gotten huge names other than outside of, Wembanyama. Dude's just an absolute freak. Dude is insanely tall, long arms, fast. Just to see him come from being drafted, really having just a post game and being kind of a low post defender. Now you're seeing him knock down threes, which is something I did not see from a basketball player that tall and that lanky, like he is, just knocking down threes. Now, going up against the Minnesota Timberwolves in game one, they really didn't have their act together defensively. They were a mess. I think the guys knew that. In game two, yesterday that we saw, the Spurs barely trailed at all in game two. And what really impressed me was their ball movement. Kind of like what we talked last year about hockey. In hockey, you kind of try and divide the ice in half and try to get the defense to overcommit to one side and get the puck to the other to give yourself scoring opportunities. The Spurs seem to be doing that with their ball movement this year. They're playing team basketball, which for me is kind of an old school basketball guy I like to see. Yes, can Wemby take it from baseline to baseline and just throw down buckets? Yes, but that's not how they're playing. They're playing team basketball. They're moving the ball around. They're getting the open shot. One highlight that I saw while I was on break today at work, I forget who made the shot, but there was a shot that bricked. They got the offensive rebound, kicked it out to a perimeter shooter who was mid-jump and laced it. That just shows you the effectiveness of ball movement and team play, especially in basketball. And what also impressed me with the Spurs in game two, nobody had over, I think, 21 or 22 points in that game. Everybody, including their bench players, except for one, all scored, which tells you they're playing team basketball. And as we saw last year in the NBA Finals, you didn't really have, other than SGA kind of going off, you didn't really have anybody going over 20 points a game. But yet, that team still won the NBA Finals in dominant fashion. So
there's one thing I also want to bring up, and I feel like this is something that everybody here, while you guys maybe not being as much NBA fans, but being sports and playoff fans, will appreciate this. We had not one, not two, But 3 series in the first round, a team came back from a 3-1 deficit to win their first round matchup. The 76ers were down 3-1 to Boston against Boston, who was predicted to be a finals team this year, came back and beat them. You had the Detroit Pistons, who were the number 1 team going into the playoffs this year, losing to a team that was the number 8 seed that won a play-in game just to even get into the playoffs. They were down 3-1, came back and won it 4-3. Then you had the number 4 against number 5 team, Cleveland Cavaliers against the Raptors. Raptors were up 3-1. Cleveland comes back and wins it 4-3. That doesn't happen too often in playoffs around all sports to come back from a deficit like that. I feel like that's something we can all appreciate, that a team's not giving up. And there's even a clip, if you look at Game 7 of the 76ers, Joel Embiid's literally laying there dying on the court because he gave it everything he had just to win that game.
And I will say this is kind of a prove-it season and prove-it postseason for Joel Embiid. Yes, he has been the 76ers for the last few years. But for me, this is the prove-it year for Joel Embiid. If he can't get it done, or at least get them past the conference semifinals this year, you got to be looking as a 76ers fan or as a 76ers, organization as, is this guy really the guy we thought he is?
Well,
that's just my take on Joel Embiid. I know that I follow a lot of Philly sports guys on Instagram, and one of them, when they were down 3-1, wanted to trash Joel Embiid, and then whenever they won Game 7, wanted to love on him. I think that this is really the year for Joel Embiid. You either got to make it, you got to either put up or shut up.
Well, I don't think you're going to get a whole lot from Philly in the second round. The way Joel killed himself in the first round there. The first game of the second round, they got beat 137-98. They got smacked around by the New York Knicks, who are looking absolutely hot going the way they are in the playoffs right now. They smoked the Hawks. They're about to smoke the 76ers. And who are they going to have coming up next? They're going to have what? You have the Detroit Pistons, who almost lost to a play-in team, or the Cleveland Cavaliers, who almost lost to a team that's just as equal as they are. So I think the Knicks are your Eastern Conference Finals champion, just looking at going into the playoffs how it is right now. You want to look at the Western Conference. If the Spurs can keep it together, you might be looking at Oak City and the Spurs. And it's just going to come down to whoever takes over from those two teams then. But I think your front runner right now is going to be the Knicks versus whoever wins between the Spurs and Oak City.
I agree. I think kind of the Knicks have the inside track. But we said that last year, about several teams. Oh, this team's got the inside track. This team's got the inside track. And then they fell flat on their face. The Knicks right now, they just have to play their game, and they'll be there. I really do think that, at least on the other side, I honestly think whoever wins this series between the Spurs and the Wolves is going to be representing that conference in the NBA Finals. I really do. These two teams, to me, are the more complete teams in the tournament right now. I mean, obviously, as a Spurs fan, I think the Spurs can do it. Yes, they're highlighted by Joel Embiid, by Victor Wembanyama, who may be the playoff MVP. You don't know. I mean, the way he's playing, you can make the argument, but we'll see. But I honestly believe that, at least in that conference, it's going to come down to Spurs and Timberwolves. I really do.
Now, as far as stats are concerned, Victor's got 11 rebounds per game. And also he's got blocks per game. He's number one with 3 blocks per game. So as far as playing defensively, he's doing an outstanding job.
And basketball games, and not to interrupt you, Fred, but to kind of play off of that rebound stat. My high school coach, Matt Shoemaker, he would always tell us games are won and lost on the boards. That's where you win or lose your games. And obviously defensively, that creates turnovers, gets you back on the offensive side and lets you play your game. But on the offensive side, getting those second chance, third chance buckets, getting those putbacks, that's where games are won and lost. Yes, today's NBA is anymore a perimeter game. It's not like the NBA that we grew up with, where Kobe was playing inside the perimeter, and dominating inside the key. Now it's kill you by 3-pointer. That's kind of how the game is anymore. But I think that Wembanyama, if he can continue to dominate on the boards, the Spurs, and I know we just said, you don't want to say that you had the inside track, because that's kind of been a killer phrase. But if the Spurs can continue to dominate on the boards, they, in my opinion, have the inside track.
So, I mean, like I said, Oak City's the team to beat right now. They haven't lost a playoff game yet, but at the same time, the Spurs are just as good of a disciplined team. They've always been a disciplined team. You take it the whole way back to Pop for all people who.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite Popovich highlight, and I don't know if you guys would know too much of this or not. Have you guys ever heard of the whole Hack-a-Shaq thing?
Oh, yeah.
Either of you remember that going around in the NBA at all? Fred, Aaron, you ever heard of that?
No.
The whole thing was a joke to Shaquille O'Neal, where if you wanted to win a game that Shaq was in, just foul him and make him shoot free throws. Make him shoot free throws. Hack-a-Shaq.
Gotcha.
So it turned into a running joke in the NBA. You wanted to win a game, just foul Shaq, make him shoot the free throws. So
because he couldn't hit.
The one game he was with the Suns, they were playing against the Spurs, and Popovich was the coach. As soon as they tipped the ball off, they passed it to Shaq, and a guy runs up and hugs Shaq to call for a foul. Shaq's looking around like, we just started the game. Are you freaking kidding me? And all you see is Pop sitting on the bench doing one of these, looking right at him.
Yeah. But, I mean, the Spurs have always kind of been that one organization in the NBA that has always played disciplined, fundamental basketball. And that's why I was drawn to the Spurs, because that's always how they play. And this iteration of the Spurs kind of reminds me of the Spurs of old, with Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Monty Ginobili. That's who they remind me of. Even though they don't necessarily have the names outside of Wembanyama, that's just how this team plays. I think they can give OKC a run for their money. If the Spurs do manage to beat the Wolves here in the semifinals, I do think that the Spurs and OKC would go to a Game 7.
Yeah, it very well could be possible. So
I mean, if you and honestly, right? I mean, I know we're kind of trying to segue here, but I mean, with OKC last year, in the finals, and we discussed this when they won their title. Again, nobody really scored more than 20 points in a game. Nobody.
Yeah.
And they were getting contributions, not just from their top 5, but from their bench players. And that's how the Spurs are doing it now. They're getting production on their starting 5 from the bench. They only had one guy not score a single point. So if that's the kind of production that you're getting from your 6th man, from your bench, and your 5 starters, you have about as good a shot as any to have a chance to win. And especially if the Spurs continue to dominate the boards like they have, you have about a good chance as any to punch a ticket to the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
I got a question for you, Alex.
Yeah.
The Pistons this year,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some highlights and I've seen some different things that have happened with them. Compare them to the Detroit Pistons of the Bad Boys roster. When the Bad Boy Pistons were good, they couldn't finish it. They couldn't win the whole thing, but they were a scary team. And some of the highlights I saw kind of reminded me of the Bad Boy Pistons.
They do.
Now
they do. They kind of thrive on defense.
It's just that similarity struck me, and I'm thinking, am I just saying that wrong, or is that then you're the basketball expert here, so I had to bring that up and ask you.
No, that's a good point. They do kind of remind you of those late 90s, early 2000s Detroit Pistons teams, that did win one title. They should have won more. But they do. They kind of remind me of those teams that focus on defensive fundamentals. They may not be as strong offensively, but again, it goes back to, can you create turnovers? Can you create opportunities? Can you create those block shots that keep points off the board, create turnovers? Can you get those defensive boards, those putback opportunities? The Pistons have been able to do that. I don't think they're going to be able to continue to go further on in the tournament. I think they're going to be going up against some tougher teams on that side of the bracket. They do kind of remind you of the Bad Boys Pistons. So you're not you're not imagining things for sure.
That's strange.
So I'm going to transition over here to hockey. We'll give it a little bit of a touch up on that. Then we'll go to football news, and then we'll get ready to do a wrap up here because you'd said about bringing up some football news, Alex, that you had. But touching on hockey, the whole entire second round is number 1 versus number 3. You have, since you wanted to dig on my teams, how about we dig on them Penguins, who lost to all teams, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Flyers of all teams. Like, come on now.
Well, I kind of saw that coming.
And in Game 6, you lost 1-0 in overtime. You couldn't even score a goal.
Yeah, and really, I mean, first of all, for me, was I upset that they lost? Yes, and in the way that they lost. But also, the Penguins kind of surprised me a little bit this year. I really didn't think they were going to make the playoffs. They did. They had a much better season than I was expecting. That said, the Flyers are just younger. They're objectively a younger team that plays faster than the Penguins do. The Penguins are starting to get younger. Kyle Dubas is really kind of, I equate him, and I've said this to you, Ray, at least once or twice. I kind of view him as the Howie Roseman of the NHL, in how he's been able to put together trade packages, build the Penguins up through the draft. I mean, they have a quite nicely stocked draft chest for the next few years where they can kind of build the Penguins back up. But yeah, Game 6 was not good enough. I know they keep saying, "Oh, we want to get the big three." Speaking of big threes, another Stanley Cup. That's a nice PR, nice marketing for the Pittsburgh faithful, but for me, it's a good sign of things to come. But the heyday of the Pittsburgh Penguins is behind them. They need to get younger. They need to get faster. And you saw that against the Flyers. The Flyers were younger, faster, and were just able to close.
Yeah. The second thing I want to bring up that I've noticed with the NHL Finals going on, something you and I had talked about a lot all last season, all the end of last season, and you had asked me to make a prediction. My prediction was correct this year. If you remember, you'll see which one I'm referring to. Can a Florida team make it again this year?
Yeah.
The Panthers didn't make it. I told you they were not going to make it this year and they were going to regress. The Panthers didn't even make the playoffs, and the Lightning lost to the only remaining Canadian team in the Stanley Cup Finals left, 4-3. So, with that in mind, who do we have as a favorite going into the finals right now? And do we have faith that the Montreal Canadiens can break Canada's streak of not winning a Stanley Cup? Yeah, he's shaking his head no. He's saying no, the Canadiens are not done.
Yeah, I'm saying no. I'm going to agree. The Canadiens, I mean, they're kind of like the Penguins. They've been overachievers, but they're about ready to come crashing back down to earth.
I don't see them. How do I want to word this? I don't see them struggling too much against Buffalo, because I don't think Buffalo, they kind of came out of nowhere this year too.
Mm-hmm.
So while I see them having the potential to upset Buffalo and moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals, I feel like they're going to run into the hacksaw of the Carolina Hurricanes, who are about 10 minutes away from going up 3-0 on the Philadelphia Flyers as we speak, and they're up 3-1. So I have a feeling your Eastern Conference team is going to be the Carolina Hurricanes going against probably, if I had to make a guess, the Colorado Avalanche again this year.
Which I would agree with. I mean, both teams, especially, talking about the Carolina Hurricanes, they've been assembling quite the roster. Whenever they went and made the trade for Jake Gensel from Pittsburgh, that was kind of my first indication that Carolina was preparing to kind of go all in. And you've seen it pay off. Their goaltending has been outstanding. They've been getting production. Speaking of the Spurs, getting productions from, not just their, first line, but their second and third line. They've been getting production up and down that roster. The Flyers, they're young, they're fast, but they're inexperienced. They do not have the experience that the Hurricanes do, the kind of roster that the Hurricanes do. The Hurricanes, it's going to be BTA. The Flyers are going to get torn up.
They're already looking like they're going to get torn up. And the one thing I want to talk about, because I said about the Colorado Avalanche, they're going to be like the team to probably win that side over there. But let's address their game 1 against the Minnesota Wild. 9-6 final for a game 1 matchup. 9-6, 15 goals scored in a game 1 playoff game. Is that more? So is that saying more towards the Minnesota Wild for keeping up with the team that we're looking at a front runner? Or is that saying more for the Colorado Avalanche is like, this is some piss poor defense that they're going to be paying for later on?
The goalies got drunk.
The goalies got drunk, but also both teams' blue lines were just atrocious. A goalie can only do so much. Right. When a goalkeeper cannot have a line of sight on where the puck is coming from or where the outlet is, you're setting your goalie up for failure. A goaltender, yes, he's the guy that everybody sees that lets a goal go in, but unless just people that don't watch hockey don't understand just how important that blue line is. Getting guys cleared out of the crease, being physical down low. That plays as much of a role, if not more of a role, than a goaltender letting a puck go by. And I think both teams kind of got sloppy on defense. A 15-goal game made me sick. It's great if you like offensive hockey, but it made me sick.
You see, me being a Devils fan and I don't want to say the only real legend because the Devils had some good ones, but Martin Brodeur being the one that stands out above all. I love watching some good goaltending and I love watching some good defense. That clearly was not the case in that game.
That was not it.
No.
Not it.
And even looking at that, you look at the stats from the rest of the playoffs. They took care, the Colorado Avalanche took care of the Los Angeles Kings, not really giving up a whole lot against them. There was 2 games where they gave up a goal, a game where they gave up 2. And you even look at the Wild, when they were playing the Dallas Stars, who the Dallas Stars were supposed to be a big team going into this. They gave up their last 3 games against them where they all won 2 goals apiece. So where this explosion of offense came from, I couldn't tell you.
It's like the blue lines forgot how to play hockey. It really feels that way.
Or they got drunk.
Or they got drunk. They decided, let's see if we can do it beer league style.
Right. So then we touched a little bit of hockey. We touched a little basketball. We did a whole hour on baseball. Let's touch on football. You had some news you wanted to bring up for us. What do you have for us in the world of football? You take the lead on this, and I'll let you kind of take your host role back from here on
then. Yay, the talent is back. Yay.
Now, Aaron, the inside joke on this is you'll have to ask Fred. Hold on. That when we did one of our watch party episodes, Fred had sent out a message to everybody that said, "What do you need me to bring?" Alex specifically said, and Fred will quote me on this, "I want Fresca, and if you don't have Fresca, I'm not sure."
Okay, no, that is not what I said.
Yeah,
that is not what I said.
His presence was absolutely contingent. It was in the fine print of his contract. He had the green jelly beans, one bowl. There had to be at least 36 of them, and there had to be Fresca. Otherwise, he wasn't
not what I
coming.
said.
So I was like,
That's not what I
okay,
said.
okay. Well, here's the deal. Since we live in a not so well-to-do area,
Whoa, hold
those
on.
who consume
Hold
Fresca
on.
are few and far between. So, by the third store that I went to in my search for this contractual obligated drink, I finally found the only 2-liter of Fresca that I could possibly find, and I bought it. And I was like, man, I sure hope he appreciates this. And he didn't even say anything until after we brought it up. It was like, okay, like I get it's in the small print of your contract, but like at least say, all right, thanks. You know,
Look, that is not how it went down. I said I will take diet. You do not need to get me Fresca. I will take diet. But no, Fred, being the good friend that he is, went to 3 stores, which is absolutely unnecessary, and got a 2-liter of Fresca.
But of course,
I did not know that he went to 3 stores.
But of course, that's what the talent's gonna say to keep a good face on live time.
Of course.
Yeah.
There's no band that says we only get the pink the pink candy. Like, really, you know what the trope is about that? Do you know why people do that in a contract?
To make sure they're reading everything.
Exactly. To make sure they're reading the fine print. Well, you were not so subtle in our contract. It was like Fresca or nothing, and you know, maybe the green jelly beans, but that Fresca.
Look. I may be an a-hole. Okay, I may be a lot of things, and an a-hole is one of them.
No.
Right?
That's his initials up here. That you can't take that from him. That's his initials.
Now I got to bring this up. Too. In Ray's contract in the green room.
Oh no.
He has to have his favorite artist playing at all times.
Oh no.
Run it up there. Okay. He's got to have pink.
No.
Otherwise, it's nothing. And that's proof. That's proof. Ray took himself to a Pink concert.
Yes.
Because he couldn't not pink it up that night. So yeah, there we go. There's proof.
If you can't take it, don't dish it. Can't take it, don't dish it. Anyway, now that we got that, there it is.
Oh, come on.
Anyway, now that we've all had a
truth
good
be
laugh.
told, since we are disclosing all this, behind the scenes stuff, Aaron, on the other hand, had no riders to his contract. He was just more than happy to come on for the love of the game. You know what I mean? Like, I appreciate that. Thank you, Aaron.
Now that we got that out of the way,
I'm crying.
back to our regularly. Yeah, you're hilarious. Back to our regularly scheduled programming with your regularly scheduled host. Anyway, so there's really only 2 things that I want to discuss on the NFL before we sign off, and they're both quarterback related. One, Aaron Rodgers. Ray, you know Aaron Rodgers quite well. He is back in Pittsburgh. He's back in the building having discussions with the Steelers organization. It's looking pretty likely that he's going to be back for this upcoming season. But the Steelers did draft a quarterback in the 3rd round out of Penn State, Drew Aller. I don't necessarily love that pick. And if I had to say that he had to be the starter, the Steelers, your season just might be cooked. The Aaron Rodgers, he is back in the building.
Well, this guy up here that's our special guest tonight, I believe is a fan of Drew Aller, and I think he is going to be a good fit in Pittsburgh, if I remember correctly from conversations I've had with you. So what's your take on the Drew Aller pick in Pittsburgh?
Drew Aller was in a bad system at Penn State.
Yeah,
he did not have the opportunity. He did not have the opportunity to actually perform to his abilities. It was one set way and one set way only. He was not given the permission to do a lot of the things that he could do. with the play calling and the different things that had to go. If you look at when he performed well, and yes, he did have a few mistakes, but it was in the last 2 minutes or 3 minutes of a football game because nothing was coming to him. He had to do it on his own. He did a great job then. You put him in the Steelers organization right now, they have a decent coaching system in there that'll work with him to help him learn. Rodgers staying is great. Let him sit back and watch him and learn from him and get some education. I honestly believe maybe in 2 years he could be a starter. Is he going to be good? I don't know. And the only reason I say that, out of Penn State University, there's only been one quarterback ever that performed well in the NFL. Just one. So it's yet to be seen, but I kind of like the pick.
And I'm curious, Aaron. I'm curious if your opinion and my opinion is the same. Who's your one Penn State quarterback?
Kerry Collins.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yep.
Hands
I was
down.
thinking if you say Todd Blackledge, I'm going to disagree with you.
Now I got to say this too, and this to kind of piggyback there. We watched Aaron Rodgers last season get very frustrated with the plays that were being fed to him, and he basically
they brought in
told.
Arthur Smith, who is one of the worst offensive minds. Why he's still getting hired is beyond me.
Right.
I mean, you can say this thing of Kirk Cousins, but
at any point in the game where Aaron Rodgers said, "Screw this," and started calling his own stuff and actually making plays, he did very well. If the freedom is maintained there, I can see, the young talent being able to step up and do some things. The other thing that's obviously on the table is this going to be Aaron Rodgers' retirement year? Is he going to show up?
He ain't going to say that.
He's not going to say it.
Hang on. He's not going to say it. But does he want to retire in Pittsburgh? That's the question. If any team he's going to be on, it's probably going to be his retirement year.
I'm just disappointed he didn't follow in Favre's footstep and go to the Vikings. That's all I'm saying. I mean,
I know. I'm the same.
I'm just glad he didn't go to the Giants. That's all I'm going to say there. I'm very glad he didn't. Yeah. Captain Helmsies has something to say here.
Now,
funny you mentioned the. Okay, shut up. Funny you mentioned the Giants because that's a good segue. Because former Giants quarterback Russell Wilson, is he actually out of the building? Is he actually out of MetLife? We don't know because today there's a report that Russell Wilson is considering a contract with the New York Jets as a quarterback there. So he could be switching the sides of the building from the Giants to the Jets, but he's also mulling being an analyst on television. Guys, do we think that he might be going to the Jets or staying off?
For that, I say good riddance.
I was going to say, if you was a Giants fan, I bet you love that.
No, honestly, what could the Jets possibly do worse?
I mean, they already have Geno Smith. Why would you bring in Russell Wilson on top of that? There's no logic behind that at all.
Russell proved himself to be done with football. He needs to. No, I got to say this. It's like every other guy that you look at and you say, when you watch it. Russell Wilson this past season was honestly, watching Michael Jordan come back was like now he's average. Watching guys come back that probably shouldn't have came back. Now there's guys that come back that they have every skill under the sun, but there's the majority of guys that retire, they come back and it's okay. Yeah, you can still play football. You're that average guy, but are you are you the guy we remember? And Russell Wilson absolutely is not performing that way. I think it's time for him to analyze. It's time for him to, read some rosters off a script and enjoy his retirement, take that broadcasting money and, enjoy what he has done.
Now, Aaron,
well,
you look
as
like
Russell
you had
Wilson
something to
once
say about that as well.
Well, I could see him going to the Jets.
I could see anybody going to the Jets.
It
doesn't make sense.
I could see a high school kid going to the Jets.
I can see him though. He doesn't have the ability he used to have.
Right.
But you can't even say it's a mentorship because they have Geno Smith, who is just as old, if not right around the same age, maybe a year or two younger. But either way, like they're both veteran quarterbacks who have well exceeded their prime. Like, what are you going to do with two quarterbacks that
what you can do with him is have him teach the coaching staff how to do the job.
So is this just the running for Arch?
Well, then why not just bring him in as a coach?
Yeah, why not?
Bring him in as
if they bring him in as a quarterback consultant or a QB coach, then by all means bring him to the Jets.
Yeah.
By all means bring him to any team in the NFL if he's going to be a QB coach or assistant or whatever. But for him to play a snap, I don't see him being of value.
I don't see Geno
especially
Smith
at the
being
Jets.
of value.
Right.
Like the Jets organization has made zero sense in any of their offseason moves this year. I don't understand a lick of it.
Even the Wisconsin
including
Badgers
drafting a tight end.
Hey, don't you get me started on the Badgers. I'm already pissed off enough about them and everything going on with them.
Speaking of tight ends, no, just what, the other thing.
Tight end. Get tight.
Kaboom. Anyway, the watching him play in New York, the confidence that the coaching staff had in New York to keep him going and allow him to continue to play and run the beginning of the season into the ground and kind of put the nails in the coffin for the season.
I was going to say, look where those
what
guys
other
are at
team
now.
Right. What other team is willing to just, hey, I know we're not going to do that great this season, so let's pick a guy who can throw in one or two nails in our coffin. I don't see that as being a play at all.
It's jersey sales. That's essentially all it is jersey sales. There's no logical explanation otherwise, other than we're just going to put your name on a jersey.
You can sell anything in Jersey. But
as Russell Wilson once said, let's ride. We just don't know where we're riding to. So
now let me also allude to a couple things, right? Just real quick. As a Giants fan, I am optimistic. I know Ray thinks that injuries are not going to be bounced back and nursed back as much as what I'm hoping.
I didn't say that. It's the severity of what happened to Scadaboo. I would love to see him come back and perform the way he was. The extent of his injury is what has me skeptical and nervous.
Yeah.
I mean, let me pull it up here real quick, but the name is eluding me. But we just had a baseball player come back from his third arm surgery.
Hook. Yeah, the hook. Yeah, he was plays for the Reds. Yeah.
Yes, third arm surgery. We're in a time where the medical access that our NFL and MLB have is by far the best technology in the world. There's no question.
Yeah. And ironically enough, he struck out the side when he came in. He came in the eighth inning, 1, 2, 3, back in the dugout. Yeah.
There's no limit to capabilities. I think the confidence Scadaboo has had, if you look back at his story, he has been a scrapper since he was a kid, and that scrapper mentality is always going to be in him. He's the kind of kid who falls out of the tree and is trying to climb another in a cast.
Yeah.
I mean, probably, but I think the variable is going to be more so with Jackson Dart. And my reason for saying that is Jackson Dart needs to learn how to not get hit. I know his
slide.
Yeah, do something. I get the having the mix of being a scrambling quarterback. You know, Michael Vick did very well with that.
And wanted to be the tough guy to try to plow somebody over as a quarterback.
Right. But when right now the Giants are getting back to what they used to have, which is a great defensive line and a great offensive line. They have the makings for a great offensive line. They have some young talent that are very capable. They have one of their up and comers, 6'9", 300 pounds, and every bit of a tank for the position that he's playing, and also some versatility. Yes, they got rid of a few names, but from what it seems, Harbaugh is very much on the name doesn't matter, the game matters. And if you have the game and you're a worker, you might be second best in numbers or name, but if you're a worker, he'll get you to be the top. And I think if anyone has proven that, Harbaugh has. So if Harbaugh maintains that mentality with the pieces that are being put in place, and he can get Dart to actually play smarter, not harder, I think we have a very good season up ahead.
Well, we shall see. We shall see.
Well, there's one more bit of football news that I'm surprised you didn't hear about that I'm going to bring up, but you could just say it's because I have a thing for this guy, apparently, and a thing for this team's offense. You already know where I'm going with it, because you have this. You apparently think I have this fascination with this guy.
Ray having a thing for guys is not anything new to us. So
I mean,
you know, but
his name is Burrow. His name is Burrow.
It's the team that I'm referring to, but it's not the player I'm going to be referring to.
You want to have his babies, I know.
DeAndre Hopkins has came out and said, I want to play one more season, and I want to go to the Cincinnati Bengals and play with Burrow and Chase. So, could we see DeAndre Hopkins joining that team and making that wide receiver trio an absolute deadly combination? Because right now, who else in the AFC North do we really have to look at? I mean, you could say Pittsburgh, you could say Baltimore, but they're all new head coaches. We don't know what to expect from them. That's all completely unknown. The only knowns we have are the Browns are going to suck and the Bengals are going to have an offense.
I'm going to say the only reason the Bengals would sign DeAndre Hopkins is if there's an injury. They're not doing that right now.
And that would make for one heck of a trio, though. You cannot deny having the hands of Hopkins on top of what you have between Higgins and Chase. How great of an offense that could become.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and Fred alluded to this with the Giants. You need an offensive line, which the Bengals don't have. So you can have all the weapons outside there. However, if Joe Burrow, the guy that you just want to have his babies for, if he doesn't have an offensive line to keep him on his 2 feet, it doesn't matter.
You only say that because I think he's way better of a quarterback than you will ever give him credit for. That is the only reason you say that. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's settle this once and for all. Aaron, is Burrows even worth the talk that Ray tries to make him out to be?
No.
No, of course not.
No.
Of course not. Of course not. Of
Not
course
even close.
You heard it here first, folks.
No. And once again, I am vindicated. Once again, I am vindicated. And with that, gentlemen, that is our episode. We've been going on now for almost 2 hours, and what a 2 hours it was. We had a
And
fun
you
talk
stayed
about
awake.
baseball.
Good job, buddy.
And I
Round of
stayed
applause for Alex
awake.
for staying
Holy
awake
moly. Although my wife will appreciate that I'm actually going to be coming to bed tonight, because every single night this week I've been a ding dong and I've fallen asleep on the couch. So tonight I'm actually going to bed. I'm actually going to bed. So she can
Truth be told, you haven't disclosed it yet, but I'm sure there's a drink in her contract
Yes.
that you didn't provide. So you may have weaseled some Fresca out of me, but you dropped the ball, and that's why you slept on the couch this week.
You don't know how true that statement is, because I'm contractually obligated to have coffee ready for her every single morning.
See, I knew the drink was involved. I just didn't know, time of day I may have been off, whatever. But I knew it had to be.
You're not
A Fresca man doesn't marry a woman without opinions. You know what I mean? That's how it works.
Oh, that's great.
I knew I was getting into. I knew I was getting. All right. And with that is this episode of Frozen Takes. Aaron, thank you so much for joining us. He is our special guest for tonight. Not only is he Ray's old man, I've known Aaron for, God, what is it now? Going on 15, 20 years. Aaron, you
age.
But he's been a good friend. A lot of good memories. It's good to see you, Aaron. It's been too long, but it's good to see you. Good to have you here on the pod. And as always, we always like to say, without you guys watching, we would not be here. So please like, comment, subscribe. That is how we know that you guys are enjoying what we do. We get feedback from you guys. And leave a comment down below on your hot take or frozen take, because we are Frozen Takes after all, on who you think.
For real.
But,
No cap.
Oh my God.
No cap.
Oh, for Christ's sake. Here we go.
This
Leave your
episode was
comments down below.
busting tonight.
Shut up. Leave your comment down below on who you think will be coming out of the NL Central.
Skibbity
These
comment.
Okay. I'm done.
We're just rizzing you up, man. We're just rizzing you up. That's all.
Fine, I played this out. At any rate, my name's Alex. I'm joined by Fred, Aaron, and Ray. Thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Frozen Takes. And until next time, stay frosty out there.